It's time for the podcast. Yeah, the podcast is starting.
What's a podcast?
It's all gonna be alright in the end. It's gonna be alright. And if you've got some worries, my dear little friends, please rest your busy minds, because it's finally time for stories from now and then.
Hello, my wonderful listeners. Welcome back to the old library for Stories from Now and Then. My name is Captain Blunderface, and Deprecatus and I are up in the treehouse again, behind the old library today. And now that we're here, is it just me, or is there new artwork pinned on the wall? What's this? A tuna fish drawn with... Is this cat hair? And what's this? A picture of a dog coming second place, it seems, in a race? What's this done with? A cat paw dipped in mud? Deprecatus, when did you have time to do these? And more importantly, how did you even get outside? Yes, I need to know. For safety reasons. Well, the secret being part of the audience's experience is not the answer I'm looking for, but either way, before we climb out of the treehouse, we have a shout out. And today's shout out goes to Cleo in Vancouver, British Columbia, who is 6 years old and likes to tune into the show in the evenings. Well, Cleo, thanks so much for listening to the show. Today's episode is dedicated to you. Hope you enjoy it. And with that, without further ado, we will bring on Nicola for today's story. Take it away.
You know, Captain, I think it's time we had another Robin Hood story. They're always so much fun. And I found one called Robin Hood the Butcher. All right, get comfy. Here we go. Many years ago, Robin Hood and his band of merry men were living very quietly in Sherwood Forest. They stayed well out of sight because Robin knew it wouldn't be wise to go to Nottingham, where there was the very angry sheriff. But even though they kept hidden, they lived a happy, cheerful life in the forest. They spent their days practicing archery, shooting arrows at wreaths hung from willow branches at the end of the clearing. The leafy forest echoed with laughter and friendly teasing. They also spent time wrestling and practicing with quarterstaffs, growing stronger and more skilled every day. Many months passed this way, and almost every day Robin thought about how he might settle the score with the sheriff. At last, he grew restless from staying hidden so long. One bright morning, he picked up his stout walking staff and set off to seek adventure. He strolled happily along until he reached the edge of Sherwood Forest. As he walked along the sunny road, he met a cheerful young butcher driving a fine mare and pulling a sturdy cart piled high with meat. The butcher whistled merrily as he travelled along, for he was heading to the market and he was enjoying the fresh morning air. "Good morning to you, friend," said Robin. "You seem very happy this fine day." "And why shouldn't I be?" replied the butcher. "I'm healthy and strong. I have the loveliest girl in all Nottinghamshire, and next Thursday I'm going to marry her in the town of Locksley." "Locksley?" said Robin. "I know that place very well. I was born and raised there myself. But tell me, where are you taking all that meat?" "To the market in Nottingham," said the butcher. "I'm going to sell my beef and mutton. But who are you, if you come from Locksley?" "People call me Robin Hood," said Robin. The butcher looked startled. "Well, I've certainly heard of you," he said, "but please don't take anything from me. I'm an honest man and I've never harmed anyone." Robin laughed. Don't worry, my friend. I would never take a penny from a man like you, especially one from Locksley who's about to marry his sweetheart. But tell me something. How much would you sell your meat, horse, and cart for?" The butcher thought for a moment. "I'd say it's worth about 4 marks, he said. "But if I can't sell my meat today, it might be worth less." Robin took out his purse. "There are 6 marks in here," he said. "I'd like to try being a butcher for the day and sell meat in Nottingham. Will you take 6 marks for everything?" The butcher's eyes lit up with delight. "Oh, bless your honest heart," he cried, jumping down from the cart and happily taking the money. Robin laughed loudly. "Many people wish me well," he said, "but not many call me honest. Now go back to your sweetheart and prepare for your wedding." With that, Robin tied on the butcher's apron, climbed onto the cart, and drove toward Nottingham. When he reached the marketplace, he found a good spot among the other butchers and set up his stall. Then he spread the meat across the table, clanged his cleaver loudly, and began calling out to the crowd. "Come one, come all, fresh meat for sale!" People gathered quickly, curious about the noisy new butcher. Robin sold meat very cheaply, far cheaper than anyone else in the market. 1 penny bought as much meat from him as 3 pennies would buy anywhere else. If a poor woman came to his stall, he sometimes gave her meat for free. And if a cheerful young person was able to make him laugh, Robin would often give them meat without charging anything at all. Before long, a crowd had gathered around his stall, laughing and talking. No butcher in the market could sell anything while Robin was there. Soon, the other butchers began whispering among themselves. "Perhaps he's a thief who stole that cart," one said. But another replied, "What thief would give away his goods so freely? More likely, he's a foolish young man who has sold his land and plans to spend all his money having fun." At last, one of the butchers came over and said, "Well, friend, since we're all butchers here, would you like to dine with us? The sheriff has invited the entire Butchers' Guild to a feast at the Guildhall today." Robin grinned. "What butcher would refuse such an invitation?" he said. "Lead the way." So after selling all his meat, Robin closed his stall and went with them to the feast. The Sheriff of Nottingham was already there. When Robin entered, laughing and joking with the other butchers, several men whispered to the sheriff about the strange new butcher who had been selling meat for ridiculously low prices. The sheriff, not recognizing Robin in his disguise, called him over and seated him beside him at the table. The sheriff liked wealthy young spenders, especially if he thought he might persuade them to part with their money. So he treated Robin warmly, laughing and talking with him more than anyone else. During the meal, the sheriff asked about Robin's business. Robin replied cheerfully, "Oh yes, I have plenty of cattle, 500 or more. I really need to sell them, but I haven't yet." The sheriff's eyes gleamed. "Perhaps I could buy them," he said slowly. "How much would you ask?" Robin thought for a moment. "They're worth about £500, he said. The sheriff pretended to think carefully. "Well, that's a lot of money, but since I like you, I'll offer £300. Robin laughed loudly. "You cheeky man! You know they're worth much more. But I like you, so I'll accept your offer." The sheriff eagerly agreed, and they arranged to travel together to Robin's home to see the cattle. The sheriff rode his horse, while Robin walked beside him, chatting away. But when they entered the deeper parts of Sherwood Forest, the sheriff began to grow uneasy. Suddenly, Robin pointed ahead, where a herd of deer was crossing the forest path. "There are my horned cattle," said Robin with a grin. "What do you think of them?" The sheriff realized the trick too late. Before he could escape, Robin sounded his hunting horn. Within moments, dozens of Robin's merry men appeared, with Little John at their head. Robin greeted them cheerfully. "Look, friends, I've brought the Sheriff of Nottingham to join us for dinner." The sheriff had no choice but to follow them deeper into the forest. Soon they reached a great oak tree where a grand feast was prepared: roasted venison, pies, bread, and plenty of ale. The sheriff was treated politely and entertained with games and laughter. But when the feast was finished and the sheriff prepared to leave, Robin stopped him. "You've forgotten something," said Robin. "In Sherwood Forest, every guest must pay for his meal." The sheriff tried to laugh. "Well, I'll gladly give you £20 for such a fine feast." Robin shook his head. "That would never do for such an important guest. My men and I agree the bill should be £300. The sheriff sighed, pulled out his heavy purse, and handed over the money. Robin counted it carefully. "Excellent," he said. "Now we're even." Then Robin kindly led the sheriff back to the forest path. "Farewell, good sheriff," he said, "and next time you make a bargain, remember to look a little more closely." With that, the sheriff rode away, much poorer and very embarrassed. And across the countryside, people laughed and sang songs about the day the Sheriff of Nottingham went into Sherwood Forest to make a profit and came home having paid dearly for his dinner. Oh, Robin Hood. He loves to teach people lessons, doesn't he? He doesn't follow the rules or play fair all the time. But he was very kind to that butcher that he bought all the meat from, wasn't he? And he was kind to all the people in the marketplace. It was just that sheriff. The sheriff who thought that he was just taking something from a foolish person, but then got tricked. One thing I noticed was that the sheriff didn't recognize Robin Hood because of his disguise. But do you know what he was wearing? I think it was just a butcher's apron. And if the sheriff couldn't recognize him just because of an apron, I think it is partly his fault that he got tricked. Okay, Captain, back to you.
Well, thank you so much for our story today, Nicola, and I must say, I feel like the sheriff myself, and Deprecatus is like my Robin Hood. I just can't figure out how you are getting out to the treehouse and back in without me knowing. That's Robin Hood level trickery. Slightly disconcerting, quite impressive. Well, is it a secret cat door somewhere? Is it when the mailman comes? Is it through the vents? Huh, well, while I ponder how Deprecatus does it, remember to add this show to your library wherever you get your podcasts so that you never miss a future episode. Also, Stories From Now and Then has merch. Check out our coloring book at storiesfromnowandthen.com. Stories From Now and Then is narrated by the amazing Nicola Ward, music by Captain Blunderface, and today's story, Robin Hood Turns Butcher, is adapted for the old library from the work of Howard Pyle. Thank you so much for joining us today in Sherwood Forest, and we will see you all next time on
Stories from Now and Then.